Okay. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-salakaya Chakshurumilitam yena Tasmai Shri-gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya-manobhishtam Sthapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Om Vishnupadaya Krishnaprastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyev cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopi Sagopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwansute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So I'm going to share the screen. So if someone is inspired, they can read from verse number 62, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, you could read from here.
Hare
Sound
Krishna.
okay? Yep.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The living entity labors under the bodily conception of I am this, I am that, my duty is this, and therefore I shall do it. These are all mental impressions, and all these activities are temporary. Nonetheless, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity gets a chance to execute all his mental concupiscence. Thus, he gets another body. One can understand the mental or conscious position of a living entity by the activities of two kinds of senses, the knowledge acquiring senses and the executive senses. Similarly, by the mental condition of or consciousness of a person, one can understand his position in the previous life. Sometimes we suddenly experience something that has never experienced in the present body by sight or hearing. Sometimes we see such things suddenly in dreams. Therefore, my dear king, the living entity who has a subtle mental covering develop all kinds of thoughts and images because of his previous body. Take this from me as certain. There is no possibility of conquesting anything mentally without having perceived it in the previous body. O king, all good fortune unto you. The mind is the cause of the living entities attaining a certain type of body in accordance with its association with material nature. According to one's mental composition, one can understand what the living entity was in his past life, as well as what kind of body he will have in the future. Thus, the mind indicates the past and future bodies. Sometimes in a dream, we see something never experienced or heard of in this life, but all these incidents have been experienced at different times, in different places, in different conditions. The mind the mind of the living entity continues to exist in various gross bodies, and according to one's desires for sense gratification, the mind records different thoughts. In the mind, these appear together in different combinations. Therefore, these images sometimes appear as things never seen or never heard of before. Krishna conscious means constantly associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a mental state that the devotee can observe the cosmic manifestation exactly as the Supreme Personality of Godhead does. Such observation is not always possible, but it becomes manifest exactly in the dark planet known as Rahu, which is observed in the presence of the full moon. As long as there exists the subtle material body composed of intelligence, mind, senses, sense objects, and the reactions of the material qualities, the consciousness of false identification and its relative objective, the gross body exists as well. When the living entity is in deep sleep, when he faints, when there is some great shock on account of severe loss at the time of death, or when the body temperature is very high, the moment of the life air is arrested. At that time, the living entity loses knowledge of identifying the body with the self. When one is a youth, all the 10 senses and the mind are completely visible. However, in the mother's womb or in the state of boyhood, the sense organs and the mind remain covered, just as the full moon is covered by the darkness of dark moonlight. When the living entity dreams, the sense objects are not actually present. However, because one has associated, Prabhuji, if you can please scroll up. Yeah. However, because one has associated with sense objects, they become manifest. Similarly, the living entity with undeveloped senses does not cease to exist materially, even though he may not be exactly in contact with the sense objects. The five sense objects, the five sense organs, the five knowledge acquiring senses, and the mind are the 16 material expansions. These combine with the living entity and are influenced by the three modes of material nature. Thus, the existence of the conditioned soul is understood. By virtue of the process of the subtle body, the living entity develops and gives up gross bodies. This is known as the transmigration of the soul. Thus, the soul becomes subjected to different types of so-called enjoyment, lamentation, fear, happiness, and unhappiness. The caterpillar transports itself from one leaf to another by capturing one leaf before giving up the other. Similarly, according to his previous work, the living entity must capture another body before giving up the one he has. This is because the mind is the reservoir of all kinds of desires. As long as we desire to enjoy sense gratification, we create material activities. When the living entity acts in the material field, he enjoys the senses, and while enjoying the senses, he creates another series of material activities. In this way, the living entity becomes entrapped as a conditioned soul. You should always know that this cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and annihilated by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, everything within his cosmic manifestation is under the control of the Lord. To be enlightened by this perfect knowledge, one should always engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. The great sage Maitreya continued, the supreme devotee, the great saint Narada, thus explained to King Prachina Bharati the constitutional position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entity. After giving an invitation to the king, Narada Muni left to Siddhaloka. In the presence of his ministers, the saintly king Prachina Bharati left orders for his sons to protect the citizen. He then left home and went off to undergo austerities in a holy place known as Kapilasrama. Having undergone austerities and penances at Kapilasrama, King Prachina Bharati attained full liberation from all material designations. He constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord and attained a spiritual position qualitatively equal to that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear Vidura, one who hears this narration concerning the understanding of living entities' spiritual existence as described by the great sage Narada or who relates it to others will be liberated from the bodily conception of life. This narration spoken by the great sage Narada is full of transcendental fame of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, this narration, when described, certainly sanctifies this material world. It purifies the heart of the living entity and helps him attain his spiritual identity. One who relates this transcendental narration will be liberated from all material bondage and will no longer from all material bondage, yep, and will no longer have to wander within this material world. The allegory of King Puranjana, described herein according to the authority, was heard by me from my spiritual master, and it is full of spiritual knowledge. If one can understand the purpose of this allegory, he will certainly be relieved from the bodily conception and will clearly understand life after death. Although one may not understand what transmigration of the soul actually is, one can fully understand it by studying this narration. Uh, Text 29. Okay. A desire to maintain
There is
body.
in connection. Yeah.
Yes,
You could read it. Actually, these come from a good reason. Yeah, just read these two.
sure, Rohit. Yeah. If you can go a little up to text 29. Yeah. Yes. A desire to maintain body, wife, and children is also observed in animal society. The animals have full intelligence to manage such affairs. If a human being is simply advanced in this respect, what is the difference between him and an animal? One should be very careful to understand that this human life is attained after many births, after many births in the evolutionary process. A learned man who gives up the bodily conception of life, both gross and subtle, will, by the enlightened spiritual, by the enlightenment of spiritual knowledge, become a prominent individual spirit soul as the Supreme Lord is also. If a living entity is developed in Krishna consciousness and is merciful to others, and if his spiritual knowledge of self realization is perfect, he will immediately attain liberation from the bondage of material existence. Everything happening within time, which consists of past, present, and future, is merely a dream. That is the secret understanding of in all Vedic literature. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Satish Prabhu. So I've asked you to read this last. That gives us again a thought. Because otherwise, we have successfully finished with the Parastuti. Yeah. Okay. Hope you had a nice reading and others also enjoyed.
Yes, Prabhuji, because it really says how the mind works and how it kind of connects between different bodies and birds. I think it was also very deep, Prabhuji. This one. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to this then. From 60 verse 61, right?
62, Prabhuji. It was
62. Okay. 62. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritcham Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudhirayet Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So we are in the 29th chapter of 4th canto, which is the talks between Narad Muni and King Prachina Barhi. King Prachin Barhi said, he was saying, let my sons come, and when they come, the Prachetas, then I will hand over the kingdom to them, and then, yeah, with whatever understanding I could, I will enter the forest for spiritual advancement. So Narad Muni, to speed up, yeah, Narad Muni, he wanted that a person, first of all, who has understood the importance of taking up spiritual path, to work out towards the goal of life, yeah, itself is very, very seldom. Yeah, otherwise, because we are in a world where there are multi varied multi-variegated attractions inside and outside, so it becomes very difficult to really come out of it. So Narad Muni, he was giving further understanding that okay, uh, don't be carried away. Just whatever you have, just have this realization of really going back. So, uh, so he said, you should, and then he gave the example, allegory of a deer. A deer is in a very, very dangerous condition. The deer is grazing the grass in the forest, but it has dangers all around. It has danger from the hunter. It has dangers from the animal forest. It has danger from the forest fire, and it has danger from the nets. All these kind of dangers. So one should not really uh, continue to be in the dream world. So to say, we always have our dreams. Yeah, the reason why we are not able to prioritize spirituality, spiritual things in our life is because we are very much uh, planning ourselves what we want to do tomorrow. Yeah, or we are so much absorbed in thinking what happened in the past, so that we are not too much interested to focus on what is that we are going through right now, and what should we do so that we can it's that the course of direction can be corrected, so that yes, the time is moving, time is running, and time is ticking. Yeah. How are we able to benefit from it is when we, yeah, mm, turn the direction to the right side. Usually they say in the north pole, right? So we should understand what is that, so that we should make that as our goal and advance. So, Narad Muni, after giving this allegorical example, then Prachina Parishad is asking, hey, I have not heard this kind of um, instructions or knowledge from my previous acharyas, my previous teachers. And then it goes further. Then the Narad Muni is telling, yeah, no, this transmigration is a fact. The soul is transmigrating from one body to the other body, and it's not just by a chance that someone is getting a kind of a body, but it's coming because of his uh, attraction to some. So the subtle body, definitely, which is the mind, intelligence, false ego, um, is the subtle body which will not get destroyed after death. Hmm. The gross body is forced to act through the subtle body, of which the mind is predominant. Lingena manasa. So, because of that, after the gross body is lost, the subtle body is still there to enjoy or suffer. So we may not think that okay, once we have closed the chapter in this world, yeah, then it ends there. No, it doesn't end there, because the subtle body is still there. Why? Why is the subtle body there? Because there are still impressions. Because of the results of the karma or vikarma, the subtle body is still having that, and until that is what do you call, mm, removed. hmm, One doesn't simply enter into the spiritual world, but has to go through the transmigration. So, and then further, Narad Muni is giving this example that the living entity, while dreaming, gives up the actual living body. Hmm. To understand this, Narad Muni is further helping King Prachinaparhi to put it in simple ways to understand it is just in dream, uh, just mm, at least I think every one of us sleep. Yeah, that is very nice to enjoy, nice to relax. After all, it doesn't cost anything, so one can just go into a dream, after they get in sleep. Yeah, and that also doesn't cost anything, isn't it? Yeah, just in a sleep, one can get a dream. No one is going to stop it, or no one is going to demand, saying, "Okay, no, you're not allowed. You are. Your nation is." What do you call, not free. So which means you are part of it, so you are not free. No, no one can stop us dreaming. So through the activities of mind and intelligence, the person who gets into dream, he acts in another body, sometimes as a god or sometimes as a dog. So he is thinking, oh, that I am the king. And sometimes we may also dream, though we don't like it. Sometimes we become very, very cruel person, or sometimes we, in the dream, identify ourselves to be a beggar, and so many things. Huh? So after giving up this gross body, the living entity either enters either an animal body or a demigod body on this planet or on another planet. What happens, and then why is that one person is taking such a body is because to enjoy the results of actions of his past life. So actual, although the root of distress and happiness is mind, intelligence, and ego, a gross body is still required. It is one may think, hey, okay, if the things are Hmm? already in the subtle body, why should one take up another body? Because the other body is required so that these desires can be fulfilled. So the body, gross body, is still required as an instrument for enjoyment. Huh? So here in this verse, what 61, it is said, Sayanam imam uh, utsrujya swasantam. The gross body may die on a bed and rest, and even though the machinery of gross body is working, the living entity may leave, go into a dream, and return to the gross body. This we see, right? Uh, Utsruja, he goes, and then in the dream, though our body is on the bed where we are laying, but we are transported to some other um, um, events which are coming out of our mind, intelligence. This subtle body is similarly, when the living entity takes on another gross body, he forgets the present gross body. The conclusion is that the subtle body creates an atmosphere with desires and ambition that the living entity enjoys in the subtle body. So, just like we are arranging ourselves, yeah, when, for example, there is a festival, huh? For a festival, we have a special outfit for the deities. We have a special arrangements in the hall that we are going to celebrate. We have special, everyone comes in special, nice outfits for themselves. Yeah, dressing and special food, special drinks. Everything is special. Yeah, so um, all the activities performed by the living entity in the subtle body are just it's not going to be there for every day, right? It's only on a special occasion, on a special day we are doing. Actually, the living entity is in the subtle body, even though the gross body apparently changes, and even though he inhabits the gross body on various planets. So this is what is happening when the person, when he returns to the body, he forgets his dream. This is very much happens. Huh? We don't remember, hey, okay, that was a very nice dream. Some people may remember forever, but not exactly how it was. How was the surroundings, what kind of situation he was going through in that, who was the boss or who is he bossing, and all these things to a very detail he may not remember. Liberation means getting out of the clutches of subtle body. That is what is liberation. Liberation from gross body simply involves the transmigration of the soul from one gross body to another. When the mind is educated in Krishna consciousness or higher consciousness in the mode of goodness, one is transferred either to the upper heavenly planets or to the spiritual planet, the Vaikunthas. One therefore has to change his consciousness by cultivating knowledge received from Vedic instructions. Now the question is coming, okay, um, um, if if we do good, then we enjoy the good results. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita that if one performs proper karma, karma yoga, then what is happening? He is getting freedom from the clutches of material existence. Uh, if one is just at the karma kanda, he may be free from sin. He may know how to cleverly, properly clean his sinful reactions. Uh, but his actions still are within the material world. If we train the subtle body in this life by always thinking about Krishna, we will transfer to Krishna Lok after leaving the body. What is the Praman? Praman is Krishna is speaking in Bhagavad Gita, fourth chapter. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. So, one who knows the nature, transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, takes his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. Mm. So this is what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita also. It is that otherwise one is going from one body to the other body. Hmm? So the living entity attains such an ananda form when he engages his mind, intelligence, and ego are purified, and all active senses of the living entity become spiritual. For that, one performs the the way is Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru Mam Evaishasi Yukta Vyayim Atmanam Mat Parayana. So always think of me and become my devotee. Worship me and offer your homage unto me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So Krishna is also giving the way how one can. One has to just engage in hearing the glories of the Lord and his birth and appearance and pastimes of the Lord. And the other way is to do what? Always think of me. When we think about the Lord and become his devotee and worship. Not becoming devotee means just like, okay, now I have worn Kantimala, I have worn tilak, I have devotional clothes. So these are not going to transform completely. That may give an identity that you are a servant of the Lord. And what is the purpose of identifying ourselves is after we know that I am the servant of the Lord, we should engage in the service of the Lord. That is what is called worship me and offer your homage unto me, being completely absorbed in me, that we don't have any other business in the world except to become absorbed in him, the supreme Lord. Then one can reach him. Mm. And then it goes further. So 62 is saying, Mamaiti manasa yad yad asavaham iti bhruvam. The living entity, what is he doing? He labors under the bodily conception of I am this, I am that. Why? Because of mama, mamit. I don't know, did we cover these two also? 62, 63, but anyway, we can go through this. So as long as one is absorbed in the bodily conception, his activities are performed on that platform, isn't it? Huh? If one is, this is what is amazing, right? You have big goals, but that goals are still according to you. Those are the biggest, or maybe by thinking, by guessing other goals are high, you may have that, but we have no idea beyond that because we have not having the conception or perception about that supreme. Yeah. So that's why we always sometimes think, let me become a billionaire, let me become most famous person. I want to be well known. I want to have followers. I want to have a lot of money. I want to have a lot of women. So all these things we think that because of that we'll be very happy. Huh? As long as one is absorbed in the bodily conception, his activities are performed on that platform. Very simple. A non-devotee who is having no clue the greatness of the Lord and the process of devotional service, he is always thinking that what he should do now is do what? To make more money. That's why his arrangements, he's always thinking how to become. Maybe in 5 years, what should he become? In 10 years, what should he become? So that's what he is planning and working most of the time. Yeah. He adjusts his goals such a way that he can still achieve in spite of so many changes are showing that these things are not eternal. In the world, we see that every nation is trying to supersede every other nation and that every man is trying to advance beyond his fellow man. That is because of the nature, because of the world where we are living is khala, um, filled with envy. So all the activities are going on under the name of advancement of civilization, but there is always envy. What is the reason is that everyone want to enjoy. They can't see others enjoying. They can't see others enjoying because they think that if others enjoy, their position is subordinate. But rather they want to rule over. They want to be known as that they are the enjoyers. So there are many plans for making the body comfortable, and these plans are carried in the subtle body after the destruction of gross body. People are not thinking, we are not thinking too much about what is the effect of this. Is it wrong? Huh? Is it wrong that one should not have such dreams? Is it wrong that one should not arrange all these things? Is it wrong to have such goals of advancement of in the society, in your own community, in the nation? In the name of advancement, what is happening is we are creating so many impressions. Yeah. Anyway, in later verses we'll get to see the role of mind. The mind plays a role here. And because of that, what we are doing is we are always absorbed in having big plans. There are many plans for making the body comfortable. These plans are carried in subtle body after the destruction of the gross body. So it is not a fact that after gross body is destroyed, living entity is finished. So, so the subtle body is entering into another gross body to fulfill those desires which are imprinted. Unless one is free from that, which is called liberation, or it goes on. And Narad Muni is saying that at death, one takes his plans with him, and to execute these plans, he takes another body. Hmm? Punarbhava. When gross body is finished, the plans of the living entity are taken by the mind, and by the grace of the Lord, the living entity gets a chance to give these plans shape in the next life. This is known as law of karma. Yeah, we come across so many karma. What is karma? It is that the living entity gets a chance to give these plans a shape in the next life. So the plans are there. He has worked out for it, and then the desire and the fruit both come up, and then he is going to get a body. As long as the mind is absorbed in the law of karma, a certain type of body must be accepted in the next life. So karma, bandhana. Karma is the cause of the bondage, and sometimes we have good that binds us. Sometimes we have bad. The karma is also generally called as karma. There is nothing like law of vikarma. Law of karma includes whatever the activities, good or bad, that are performed, that is binding us in this world. Oh, no, in the material world. Karma is the aggregate of fruitive activities conducted to make this body comfortable or uncomfortable. We have actually seen that when one man was about to die, he requested his physician to give him a chance to live 4 more years so that he could finish his plans. Isn't it? Huh? Of course, in the old age, one may think that no, 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 Lord, please take me away. But when that take me away thing comes, they say, no, 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 I have that desire. No, it should be, I want to finish off. So we kind of think that maybe next life I don't have an option to enjoy. Let me enjoy, even if it's struggling, let me try it out. And then um, after this man, means that while dying, he was thinking of his plans. After his body was destroyed, he doubtlessly carried his plans with him by means of subtle body, composed of mind, intelligence, and ego. Thus, he would get another chance by the grace of the Lord, who is always within the heart. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishta matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha. So, from the Lord, who is present in the heart, smritir, remembrance, jnanam, knowledge, apohanam, forgiveness, forgetfulness come from him. Hmm. So, so this is what is happening. And Krishna in the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, he's saying, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddesha Arjuna tishtati. The Lord is just in the heart, just like Brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani maya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart and is directing the wandering of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of material, yantra rudhani, made of material energy. So one cannot say that I am independent. I am going to create my future, and I am the one who is going to direct my next life. It is me who, if I want, I have a choice of deciding my next life. Well, it depends. Yeah, free will is there. We can decide, but our actions also matter. We should have good desires. Good, not in the mode of just goodness. We should come to the state of Vasudeva Sattva, which is Suddha Sattva, which is beyond the Sattva Guna. We are usually thinking mode of goodness is already great. No, mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance. All these three will bind us back to the material world, but only if one comes out of that, when his consciousness is refined, then he gets freedom. So otherwise what happens? The living entity struggles all over the universe to fulfill his plans, thinking I am a Brahmana, I am a Kshatriya, I am an American, I am an Indian, and so on. All these designations are of the same essence. Whether one is thinking that I am this, I am that, if everything is materialistic, then there is no difference. There is no point in becoming a Brahmana in preference to an American, or becoming an American in preference to a Negro. After all, these all are bodily conceptions under the modes of material nature. So that's why one should understand one's actions through the senses. Narada Muni is saying, one can understand the mental and conscious position or conscious position of living entity by activities of two kinds of senses. What are the two kinds of senses? One is the knowledge acquiring senses, Jnanendriya, and the other one is Karmendriya, the executing senses, Ubhayai Indriya. There are two kinds of senses. Similarly, by mental condition of the or consciousness of a person, one can understand his position in the previous life. Hmm. So now we know. Yeah, that's why usually we refer, right? Well, he might be that in his previous life. Mm. Prabhupada writes in the purport that there is a English proverb that says the face is the index of mind. If one is angry, his anger is immediately expressed in his face, isn't it? Similar, of course, one might be superficially calm. If one is asking, "How are you?" and the answer is, "I'm fine," uh, the answer can be the same. But if one is good at reading the uh, face, then one cannot hide so easily the his thoughts, which come from the mind. In other words, the activities of gross body are reactions of mental condition. The mind's activities are thinking, feeling, and willing. Thinking, the mind is thinking, and then if something is there, there is a feeling, and then also there is willing, and the willing portion of the mind is manifest by the activities of the body. Uh, so the conclusion is that by the activities of body and senses, what is happening? Uh, we can understand the condition of the mind. When the mind is joined with a particular senses, it immediately becomes manifest in a certain way. So when mind, yeah, this is what we are seeing from neural um, science, which is saying how the signals through neurons are going to the mind from different sense organs, or the other way. For instance, when there is an anger in the mind, the tongue vibrates so many maledictions. Similarly, when the mind's anger is expressed through the hand, there is fighting. When it is expressed through the leg, there is kicking. There are so many ways in which the subtle activities of mind are expressed through the various senses. So one may think that, hey, no one can understand, read my mind. No one can see what is in my mind, how disgusting my mind is. So let me save everything there. Huh? Uh, but what happens is the mind is those um, thoughts, uh, or the feelings, thinking, and willing. All these are expressed through our actions. Yeah, just like sometimes when we see um, um, something that we like very much. Yeah, for example, it's a sweet that we a dessert that comes. Um, though you are in assembly of your friends or your colleagues, you may think, hey, it's not nice, yeah, to show that I am so much Yeah, it's uncontrollable. The mind is saying to control, but actually, still the senses are getting the signal that the eyes are giving it. Hey, this is nice gulab jam that's on the table. Yeah, you're a diabetic. The mind is again resisting. Again, the willingness is again coming. Ah, no, this is last time. So these temptations are manifested through the senses. Yeah, the immediate thing is your hands go onto the table, takes the spoon, takes the gulab jam, puts in the mouth. And what is this? This is all under the direction still of the mind. So it is said, um, there are so many ways in which subtle activities of the mind are expressed through various senses. The mind of a person of Krishna consciousness also acts in a similar way. It's not that the mind, there is no effect of the mind. But what is the difference? The tongue chants Hare Krishna, the Maha Mantra. The hands are raised in the ecstasy. The legs dance in Krishna consciousness. These symptoms are technically called Ashta Sattvika Vikara. When we come across Prahlad Maharaj, when we talk about Dhruva Maharaj, when we see how these great devotees, what even Narad Muni, what kind of ecstasy they go through, yeah, involuntarily. Sometimes, yeah, the mind, they don't even realize that they are crying. They don't realize that they are laughing loudly. They don't realize that they are rolling on the floor. Mm, so that goes beyond. And but this is all by the mind. Uh, is transformation of mental condition in goodness or sometimes transcendental ecstasy. Uh, so that's how. And sometimes we suddenly experience something that was never experienced in the previous body by sight or hearing. Sometimes we see such things suddenly in dreams, isn't it? Some dreams. Yeah. Today, I think the topic could be about uh, um, dreams. Yeah. Sometimes people may say, "Hey, why is this dreams coming?" Of course, science is able to also come with an understanding that the dreams are having some basis. It's not that they are completely baseless. Yeah. In dreams, we sometimes see things that we have never experienced in the present body, isn't it? Sometimes we see that, okay, I have three heads. Uh, 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 we know that Brahmaji had four heads. Sometimes in dreams, we think that we are flying in the sky, although we have no experience of flying. This means that once in a previous life, either a demigod or astronaut, we have flown in the sky. The impression of this is the stockpile of mind and it suddenly expresses itself. It is like fermentation taking place in the depths of water, which sometimes manifests itself in the bubbles on the water's surface. Sometimes we dream of coming to a place we have never known or experienced in this lifetime, but this is proof that in past life we experienced it. So, this is what we understand that the dreams are, yeah. Sometimes we even dream like usually this is what I my experience is when you are learning something new and when your mind is so much occupied in that and when you go to sleep. Sometimes you may see that, okay, you're getting that in the dream, what has happened. Uh, just like if you're playing chess, mm, yeah, all the time you're absorbed how to put a move, how to do that, how to do this. These are actually plans. Uh, this is the strategies. These are the strategies that you are putting against the opponent so that you can win over that game. Similarly, we have plans, strategies to overcome our contenders, our opponents. Uh, or sometimes we may think this contender or opponent is the reality of the material world, depending on whether you may accept a enemy or you may not even see the enemy, but there is some higher energies. So all the time there is this, and in the dream, because your mind has been absorbed so much in thinking of this, uh, and then it affects the feelings, and because it affects the feelings, then you also have a willing. You want to do something, and because you can't do, or you may not do it. You get it in the dream that you start doing it. So thus there is a chain of continuation from one life to another, from previous life to this life, and from this life to future life. And this is also sometimes proven by saying that a man is born. uh, a poet and born scientist or a born devotee, isn't it? We see, hey, I have, how come that someone has this inbuilt talent, born, that it's very difficult to compete. We say that they are destined to become the best of this. One may work very hard to reach to that, but one is naturally getting this. How is it possible? If, like Maharaj Ambarish, we think of Krishna constantly in this life, Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vindayo, we will certainly be transferred to the kingdom of God at the time of death. So, for us, when we see this principle, the principle is to absorb always in thoughts of Krishna. mm, Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakta Madhya Jimam Namaskaram. So, and worship him even if our attempt to be Krishna conscious is not complete, our Krishna consciousness will continue in the next life. What is the proof for it? What is the praman? Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is saying, Prapya Punya Krita Lokan. The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment, Usitva Saswati Sama, Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Abhijayate. What is happening is that the unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planet of pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. So either he becomes a Brahmana or he becomes a son or daughter in a very rich aristocratic family. Because so that Krishna is facilitating such a being so that he can carry his Krishna consciousness from there very easily. If we rigidly follow the principles of meditation on Krishna, because yoga, everywhere yoga is going on. What is the best kind of yoga is meditation on Krishna. Uh, for that, we don't have to learn very difficult artificial way of meditation. We don't have to meditate on something that's not existing, that itself doesn't exist. We are trying to achieve something that's not existing, that's not possible. So, if one takes to Krishna consciousness, if one meditates on Krishna, there is no doubt in our next life we will be transferred to Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan. And this can be possible, achievable in this lifetime. It's not that, oh, I have existence of many, many lifetimes in this material world. So what is the chance that I can make advancement all of a sudden to the perfection? No, it is possible to go back to Godhead even in this one lifetime if we take to the serious practices of Krishna consciousness, which means seriously improving our quality of chanting, seriously improving our activities. Yeah, mind, refining or purifying the mind with right thoughts, with right feelings, and right actions will follow. And this is all possible even in this one lifetime to make us go back to Godhead. Mm. Then the mental impressions from the previous body, it is not possible for anything to appear in the mind which has not been previously experienced in different bodies. So this is one may say, no, this is imagination. It's not at all imagination because Narad Muni is confirming that what is he saying? Tenasya tadrisham rajan lingino deha sambhavam. Deha sambhavam. Shraddha श्रद्धतस्वानुभूता अर्थो न मनः स्पृष्टुम arhati. Therefore, my dear king, the living entity who has subtle mental covering develops all kinds of thoughts and images because of his previous body. Take this from me as certain. So Narad Muni is saying that dreams don't happen by chance. These things all are coming because of previous. Therefore, uh, all kinds of thoughts are coming because of previous impressions. We know that. Just imagine, mind is a storage place where so many images are there. All these images are there. There is no possibility of concocting anything mentally without having perceived it in the previous body. Krishna Bahirmukha Hana Bhoga Vancha Kare Nikatastha Maya Tare Japatiya Dhare. Prema Vivarta is saying, actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Hmm. Krishna Bahir. But then, when living entity wants to imitate him, he is given a chance to satisfy his false desire to lord it over material nature. That is the beginning of his downfall. As long as he is within this material atmosphere, he has a subtle vehicle in the form of mind, which is the stockpile of all kinds of material desires. Such desires become manifest in different bodily forms. Srila Narad Muni requests the king to accept this fact from him because Narada is an authority. The conclusion is that the mind is the storehouse of our past desires and we have this present body due to our past desires. Similarly, whatever we desire in this present body will be expressed in the future body. Thus, the mind is the source of different kinds of bodies. So this is the power of the mind powerhouse. Yeah, it is housing us in different kinds of bodies. If the mind is purified by Krishna consciousness, one will naturally in the future get a body that is spiritual and full of Krishna consciousness. Such a body is our original form. Jivara Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das. That every living entity is constitutionally an eternal servant of Krishna. If a person is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered a liberated soul even in this life. This is confirmed by Rupa Goswami saying, Iha yasya harer dasya karmana manasa giri nikhilasva api avasthashu jivan mukta. Who is a jivan mukta? Sa ucheti. Who is a jivan mukta? Liberated. Uh, One who is always serving the Lord is to be considered always liberated. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Mam chayo vibcharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Yeah, Krishna is saying, one who always engage in spiritual activities of unalloyed devotional service at once transcends the modes of material nature. And then what is happening is elevated to the spiritual platform. Hmm. Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. So this is what Narad Muni is saying. And he's saying, O king, all good fortune unto you. The mind is the cause of living entities attaining a certain type of body in accordance with his association with the material nature. Hmm. So he's saying the mental composition indicates one's attainment of body in accordance with the material nature. Hmm. So the mind is the index of information about one's past and future lives. So we can also say if one is a criminal, Prabhupada writes, I think similarly, if one's mind is criminal, he was criminal in his past life. In the same way, according to the mind, we can understand what will happen in a future life. Huh? ऊर्ध्वं गच्छन्ति सत्त्वस्ता मध्यम तिष्ठन्ति राजसा जंगः गुणवृत्तिस्ता अधो गच्छन्ति तामसा. Those situated in the mode of goodness, I think we finished this particular in the 14th chapter. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward, urdhvam, to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the mode of ignorance go down to the hellish condition, adho gachanti tamasa. So, if, so this is all. Yeah, we're talking about karma philosophy here. Even to understand that karma philosophy, we are using what we could relate ourselves. Yeah, because we are familiar with dreams, we are familiar with what is happening in our dreams. Through that, we can see sometimes we have great dreams that we are very good, pious, saintly, and sometimes in our dreams we are very, very cruel. Uh, this means that we have propensities of advancing above or going down or even staying on the earth by doing some things. All this is because of our mind. Unless one becomes a devotee of Lord or becomes fully Krishna conscious, he will certainly hover on the mental platform and be promoted and degraded in different types of bodies. Uh, but then a devotee, what is he doing? The conclusion is one should be without mental desire. Anya bhilashita sunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulyena krishna anusilanam bhakti ruchyati. So one performs devotional service without any desire. One should be fully free from material desires, philosophical speculations, and fruitive activity. The best course of for human being is to favorably accept transcendental devotional service. This is the only way where we can get out of this material world. Otherwise, the mind still hankers and anchors us on the material platform, and we can't get rid of it. Sometimes in a dream, we see something never experienced or heard of in this life, but all these incidents have been experienced at different times, in different places, and in different conditions. Uh, Narad Muni is saying this fact, he further explains, Sarve Karmanurodhena Manasendriya Gochara. The mind of the living entity continues to exist in various gross bodies. Sarva Karmanurodhena Manasendriya Gochara, going. Ayanti Bahusho Yanti Sarve Samanaso Jana. In this mind, in the mind, these appear together in different combinations. Therefore, these images sometimes appear as things never seen or never heard before. I don't know, have I think Prabhupada gives an example. Sometimes we see some weird object, yeah. The activities of living entity in the body of a dog may be experienced in the mind of a different body. Hmm? Sometimes, therefore, those activities appear never to have been heard or seen. The mind continues, although the body changes. So the mind has this. Even in this lifespan, we can sometimes experience dreams of our childhood. Although such incidents now appear strange, it is to be understood that they are recorded in the mind. We may, for us, we may feel it's foolish. If I am saying, hey, in the dream it was you, people will say, hey, I would never have such, I would never have such a thought. I wouldn't do that. No, we would have had that. Maybe as a child we were greedy, so we wanted to do something. As a child we were envious of something, we wanted to do something. Or as a child we were very short-tempered. Maybe now we are not. So all these things, and we are talking about within this life. There's activities that happened in the past. That is the nature of the mind, thinking, feeling, and willing. As long as the mind is not engaged in meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord, the mind will desire so many material enjoyments. Sensual images are recorded in the mind in chronological order, and they become manifest one after another. Therefore, the living entity has to accept one body after another. The mind plans material enjoyment. The gross body serves as the instrument to realize such desires and plans. Uh, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya. So Narottam Das Thakur is saying that uh, everyone to stick to the principle of carrying out the orders of the spiritual master. Arana kari hai mana asha. I don't have any other desire except Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, to follow my Guru's instructions. Chitete Karya Aikya. That is the only thing I want, desire. No other desire. If the regulative principles ordered by the spiritual masters are followed rigidly, the mind will gradually be trained to desire nothing but the service of Krishna. Such training is the perfection of life. And Krishna consciousness means constantly associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in such a mental state that the devotee can absorb the cosmic manifestation exactly as the Supreme Lord does. Such observation is not always possible, but it becomes manifest exactly like dark planet known as Rahu, which is observed in the presence of full moon. So in this, Prabhupada gives us very nice um, comment on moon astronomers. Yeah, people who are going to moon. I'll come to that later. It has been explained in the previous verse that all desires on the mental platform become visible one after another. Sometimes, however, the supreme will of the Lord, hmm, whose the whole stockpile can be visible all at one time. Uh, So for a devotee, it happens. Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. When a person is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, his stockpile of material desires is minimized. Bhakti bhajam. Indeed, the desires no longer fructify in the form of gross bodies. This is the secret. The secret is, for devotees, they don't have to panic, because the materialist is thinking, hey, if I don't care of myself, I will be lost. I'm committing so many sins. I am doing that. I am doing this. I have to do atonement. I have to purify. I have to do. All these activities are creating more and more. Do we know what should be done? What should not be done? It's very difficult. Some Munis are telling this, some other Munis are telling something. So many people are giving different formulas of atonement, how one should, and then you are bewildered by so many so-called contradictory ways of working out for rectifying, and then you just give it up. This is what happens. Huh? But if one becomes a devotee of the Lord, what is happening is the Lord is taking care of uh, removing or minimizing or whatever is the best for us so that we can advance in Krishna consciousness. The whole stockpile of desires become visible on the mental platform by the grace of the Lord. What is happening? The desires no longer fructify in the form of gross bodies. Instead, the stockpile of desires become visible on the mental platform by the grace of the Supreme Lord. In this connection, the darkness occurring during the full moon, during what is it? Uh, Lunar eclipse. Yeah, we know what is happening. Chandra Grahan time. There is this moon. For a moment, there is something that's covering it. There is sometimes a full moon is covered for a moment. Can be explained by being another planet known as Rahu. So I'm just reading. In this connection, the darkness occurring before the full moon can be explained as being another planet known as Rahu. Hmm. According to Vedic astronomy, we are not talking materialistic. According to Vedic astronomy, Rahu, which is not visible, is accepted. Sometimes the Rahu planet is visible in the presence of full moon light. It then appears that this Rahu planet exists somewhere near the orbit of moon. The failure of, now we talk about the modern astronomers. The failure of modern moon excursionists may be due to the Rahu planet. In other words, those who are supposed to be going to the moon may actually be going to this invisible planet Rahu. Yeah, we would have heard now. So this is always very hot, debatable question that's coming. How can Prabhupada say that no one have went to moon? And then there was one disciple who even left. He didn't trust Prabhupada. He is saying it could supposed to be going to the moon may actually be going to this invisible planet Rahu. Actually, they are not going to moon but to planet Rahu. And after reaching this planet, they come back. Apart from this discussion, the point is that a living entity has immense and unlimited desires for material enjoyment, and he has to transmigrate from one gross body to another gross body. So this is what is up. So that is the way of life. No living entity is free from the cycle of birth and death unless he takes to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, in this verse, it is clearly stated, Sattvaika Nishthe, that when one is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, in one stroke, he is freed of past and future mental desires. Then, by the grace of the Supreme Lord, everything becomes simultaneously manifested in the mind. What is happening? Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur gives the example. What example of Mother Yashoda? Mother Yashoda, she saw the whole cosmic manifestation within the mouth of Lord Krishna. By the grace of Lord Krishna, Mother Yashoda saw all the universes and planets within the mouth of Krishna. Similarly, by Krishna, a Krishna conscious person, a devotee can see all his dormant desires at one time and finish all his future transmigrations. We can see from the examples of Dhruv Maharaj. Uh, all after seeing the Lord, he was thinking, I have been desiring for broken glasses, but yeah, seeing you, I don't want anything. After Prahlad Maharaj saw Krishna, Narsingadev, what did he ask? He didn't ask anything for him. He asked only for the well-being of everyone. So that gets purified and all at one shot. Why we see things not experienced in this life is explained herein. That which we see is the future expression of a gross body or is already stocked in our mental stockpile. Because a Krishna conscious person does not have to accept a future gross body, his recorded desires are fulfilled in a dream. We therefore sometimes find things in a dream never experienced in our present life. Naham mameti bhavoyam purushe vyavadhiyate yavad buddhi mano ksharta guna vyuho hi anadiman. So as long as these exists, there exists subtle material body composed of mind, intelligence, sense objects, and reactions of the material qualities, the consciousness of all identification, the gross body exists as well. So this is there. We can only get rid of it or freedom from it only by what? When the living entity is, yeah, and it goes. The subtle body is not destroyed when the senses are inactive. Hmm. This is what we may think that, oh, after all, the body is burnt. The body is burnt, then there is nothing else. Or the body is, what do you call this? Um, Cremated, no? With different kinds of ways. Once the body is given back to the earth, then we think that, okay, the soul has left and it went into and to become one of the stars. Yeah, there are so many stars. Why can't we count such stars? Yeah, do we know what is the population on earth? Yeah, yeah, so many. And then just imagine if all are going and occupying the space, then all the stars are there. Uh, very soon, the whole sky would be all like sun. But no, everyone is going from one place to the other. The soul is still transmigrating from one body to the other body and is taking uh, the false. When the subtle body, when does one lose self-awareness is mentioned here in the 71 verse. When the living entity is in deep sleep is sushupti, yeah, state. When he faints, when there is some great shock on account of severe loss at the time of death, or when the body temperature is very high, the movement of life air is arrested. I don't know if you remember, this is what I was referring from Upanishad, in one of the other classes, how the soul is leaving the body. Before that, what is happening? Thus, life air is arrested. At that time, the living entity loses knowledge of identifying the body with the self. So slowly, all the signals that are activating or connected to the senses, slowly they come into the heart, and from the heart the subtle body is going to leave the body at the time of death. So undeveloped senses, all the 10 are active in youth, but in the womb of mother or in childhood they remain covered, just as a full moon is not visible on the dark night. You know, there's a full moon, but on a dark moon night, on a new moon night, we can't see. Uh, Garbe balye pi. This is what, when one is in youth, all the 10 senses and mind are completely visible. Otherwise, they are not visible. The other example is artehi avidyamane pi samsriti na nivartate. When the living entity dreams, the sense objects are not actually present. However, because one has associated with the sub sense objects, they become manifest. In other words, this means one enjoys objects in a dream, though the objects are not present. Similarly, samsara does not cease for a person who is attached to the sense objects. So there is always, yeah, if you want to enjoy, there is always there so many things, right? In the past, yeah, we were thinking, okay, after this time, everyone sleeps. No, the sense objects are stronger and demanding more, so that now people don't go to bed so early, don't wake up early, and yeah, one is able to do whatever he want. Now he thinks everything is in his control, but indirectly, actually, he is the slave of all this conditioning. So these all things show that it is not that the once the body is gone, then we are done. No, the five sense objects, the five sense organs, the five knowledge acquiring senses, and the mind are the 16 material expansions. These combine with the living entity and are influenced by the three modes of material nature. Thus, the existence of the conditioned soul is understood. So, this goes. And the transmigration of the soul is by subtle body, the jiva accepts the gross body and gives up them and experiences joy, lamentation, fear, grief, and happiness. And this is what the example given here is the caterpillar example. Yatha trina jalukeyam. The caterpillar transports. This also I was giving the example, right? How a caterpillar is going from one leaf to other leaf. First, it is firmly on the one leaf, it is present, but slowly it lifts the body and lands on the other. And then, just to that extent where it has landed, to that extent, again, it lifts in the other leaf, it moves further. In that way, it is moving from one leaf to the other leaf. Similarly, we are, as all the thoughts and desires and everything is brought back into the subtle body, which is moving, the subtle body is already looking where it should go. And once it finds a suitable gross body, then it starts moving in towards that. And once the gross body is materialized, then the subtle body is also moving there. So this is the science of transmigration. So this is also what is mentioned in this. So, so in this way, the caterpillar transports itself from one leaf to another by capturing one leaf before giving up the other. Similarly, according to his previous work, the living entity must capture another body before giving up the present one. So this is what. Thus, he is forced to accept another body by the law of nature. Prakritiye kriyamanani gunakarmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma. Ahankara, it is the false identity of what? Kartaham iti manyate. He is thinking that I am the doer, I am the doer. As long as we are thinking I am the doers, we are going to kind of get another body. That is the law of nature. Krishna is saying, the bewildered soul, spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of matter nature, thinks himself the doer of activities, ahankara vimudhatma, activities that are in actuality carried out by nature. Hmm. So, um, but then a devotee is blessed. Why? Because yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajantanте kalyavanam tam tam evaiti kauntaya sada tad bhava bhavita. Yeah, this is what devotee knows. Krishna is saying, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So a devotee knows that, okay, this is a trick. If I want to go to the spiritual kingdom, I have to engage in devotional service. Within one's body and mind, one can think as either a dog or a god, and next life he is offered to him accordingly. Krishna is saying, Purusha Prakritisto hi bhunkte prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangosya sad asad yoni janmasu. The cause of taking birth from many wombs is what? It is this bhunkte prakrtijan gunan. If we are thinking that we are part of the nature, material nature, then we struggle. Anyway, this purport is very long and it's also very nice. If one has time, can read 76, 77, and then 78. As long as we desire to enjoy sense gratification, we can create material activities. When the living entity acts in the material field, he enjoys the senses, and while enjoying the senses, he creates another series of material activities. In this way, the living entity becomes entrapped as a conditioned soul. So what is happening? We are going this cycle. We are thinking, okay, karma bandhana means if we act only for the satisfaction of ourselves, then we are bound. But if we are acting for the satisfaction of Vishnu, there is no bondage due to material activity. But if we act otherwise, we become entrapped by one material activity after another. Mm. So, therefore, what is the solution? This is what is the conclusion of this whole allegorical story and for by Narad Muni to Prachina Pari, what is saying? You should always know that this cosmic manifestation is created, maintained, and annihilated by the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is what he's saying. Atastad apavadartam bhaja sarvatmana harim. Who is the one Lord has created everything, and then Pascham Tad Atmakam Vishwam. Consequent, everything within this cosmic manifestation is under the control of the Lord. Sthiti Utpatti Apyaya Yatha. To be enlightened by this perfect knowledge, one should always engage himself in devotional service of the Lord. So that is the conclusion. The conclusion is that we are not so much interested, okay, I had my plans and those plans I want to fulfill. And with that fulfilled plans, I want to become happy and successful and blah, blah, blah. No, that is not going to happen. We failed in the past lives. That's why we got this present life. We will once again fail in this life and will also fail in the future lives, because in this material world, we are not going to attain perfection of whatever happiness we want, because that's temporary. And we are looking in a different wrong place. So that's not the place. We have to go to the real place for that real happiness. Uh, so Krishna is saying self-realization. Prabhupada is writing in the purport, self-realization, understanding oneself as Brahman or spirit soul, is very difficult in the material condition. However, if we accept the devotional service of the Lord will gradually reveal this. This is the secret. So the secret is, oh, I failed in the last lives. What is the guarantee I will win in this life? No, if we are sincere, if we really turn towards Krishna, not Bahirmukha, not turn our back to the Lord, but to see Him, then what is happening is, then the Lord is giving that. In this way, the progressive devotee will gradually realize his spiritual position. मयि आसक्त मनः पार्थ योगम युञ्जन मदाश्रया असंशया समग्रम माम यथा ज्ञास्यसि तत् शृणु. Krishna is saying to Arjuna, by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, my ashakta mana, with mind full on me, Partha, what will happen? With mind attached to me, you can know me in full. Yogam means to know the Lord. And Mad Ashraya, Asamsaya Samagramma. No doubt. Then you will be free from doubt. So when we engage ourselves in devotional service of the Lord to become Krishna conscious, we understand not only Krishna, but everything related to Krishna. And this is what is revealed by the Lord. And through that we attain success. So that's how Narad Muni was telling to Prachina Parishad, which is narrated by Maitreya Rishi to Vidura. And Maitreya is saying the supreme devotee Narad Muni thus explained King Prachina Barhi the constitutional position of the Supreme Lord and the living entity. After giving an invitation to King, Narad Muni left to Siddhalok. Siddhalok and Brahmalok are both within the same planetary system. Brahmalok is understood to be the highest planet within this universe. Siddhaloka is considered to be one of the satellites of Brahmaloka. And this is just information. The inhabitants of Siddhaloka have all the power of yogic mysticism. From this verse, it appears that great sage Narada is an inhabitant of Siddhaloka, although he travels to all the planetary systems. All the residents of Siddhaloka are spacemen and they can travel in space without mechanical help. The residents of Siddhalok can go from one planet to another individually by virtue of their yogic perfection. Uh, so after giving instructions to King Prachinabari, he went to his home, where Siddhaloka. And then Prachina Barhi, and then he retired. In the presence of, he didn't wait for his sons to come, and then no, he left orders for his sons to protect the citizens, and then he left home and went off to undergo austerities in holy place where Kapilashram. Hmm? And then there is also this purport which is giving, I'll just say in the last part, what is it? Sridhar Swami informs us that Kapilashram is located at the confluence of Ganges and Bay of Bengal, a place called Ganga Sagar. This place is still famous as a place of pilgrim, and many millions of people gather there every year on the day of Makar Sankranti and take bath. It is called Kapilashram because Lord Kapila is living there to perform his austerity and penances. We know this Lord Kapila, he is a propounder of Sankhya philosophy. So, saying so, and Prachinabharhi, what did happen to Prachinabharhi is very interesting. After King hearing from Narad Muni directly, having undergone austerities and penances at Kapilashram, King Prachinabharhi attained full liberation from all material designations. He constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord and attained a spiritual position qualitatively equal to that of the Supreme Personality of what did he attain? The mukti that he attained. He got freedom. He understood what is what. Uh, this is the there is special significance of the word tat sam yatam agat, which indicates that king attained the position of possessing the same status or the same form as the Lord, which is Sarupya Mukti. He attained that. This definitely proves that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always a person. Hmm. Um, so we can see what is the purpose of hearing to Bhagavatam. We can see Narad Muni, why did he take special interest and came and he told everything to King Prachinabarhi out of compassion is so that King Prachinabarhi can attain perfection. And in fact, King Prachinabarhi also attained perfection because he took to this very seriously. He went to the ashram, he left everything and then made this as his only goal and then attained perfection. For us, whenever we come across these pastimes, whenever we are hearing, what it should help us is to get disconnected with the material world and reconnect with the spiritual world. And through this process of reconnecting, then we become more and more favored. As Krishna is saying, if you do this, I'm going to favor you with what you lack, with intelligence, facilities. We usually are struggling. We are thinking, hey, if I need so much facilities because I don't have it now, let me work out. So this is what we are doing, future planning. Huh? Anyway, we can't plan for what has happened in the past because that's no, but at least let's do something future. Let's do planning and planning. We are planning so much and we are also missing something in this life. We should act even now, which means though we can't just do a shift, mm, uh, shift away ourselves from all the responsibilities, but we can make these responsibilities Krishna conscious. It is not that there is no activity that we are doing can't be used in the service of the Lord. Hmm. Which means I would like to say that no, our responsibilities are actually coming from the Varnashrama way of living. And Varnashrama way of living is mainly to bring us become more and more God conscious, Krishna conscious. Uh, Only thing what we are doing is we are using the framework of Varnashrama for our own sense gratification, sense enjoyment, sense happiness, happy living. That's what we are doing. And actually forgetting the purpose of it. So the purpose of here, we can see Prachina Barhi, who was so much engrossed as a king. Come on, he's a king means he has all facilities. Why will he mm, give up everything? No, he took it very serious, the message of Narad Muni, and he accepted that life and he went to Kapilashram. This is the beauty when we go to Tirthasthan. The Tirthasthan are spiritually subdued with spiritual energy. Uh, um, and then that helps us. We can see the way of life of people who are there who are also detached from all these things because they also want to advance. Mm. All people come for the same purpose of freeing themselves from these material bondages. We can see these things, and then we can, in the midst of that people, we can advance. Uh, yeah, and then it goes further that he attained. And now Maitreya Rishi is telling to Vidura, my dear Vidura, one who hears this narration concerning the understanding of living entities' spiritual existence, as described by great sage Narada, or who relates it to others, will be liberated from the bodily conception of life. If we have understood this whole Puranjan pastime, yeah, I was also not sure whether I would be speaking, but yeah, by the grace of the Lord, somehow I could go through all these chapters about this is very, very helpful so that when we relate this to others, this will help us to understand the reality of life and the purpose of life is, and then will help us get liberated from the material conception of life. Hmm. The material creation is the spirit soul's dream. Actually, all existence in the material world is a dream of Mahavishnu. As anyway, the purport is telling that this material world is created by the dreaming of Mahavishnu. The real factual platform is the spiritual world, but when the spirit soul wants to imitate the supreme personhood of Godhead, he is put into this dreamland of material creation. After being in contact with the material modes of the nature, living entity develops the subtle and gross bodies. When the living entity is fortunate enough to associate with Sri Narad Muni or his servants, he is liberated from this dreamland of material creation. And then what happens when he gets free? Hmm. This narration spoken by Narada is full of transcendental fame of the Supreme Lord. Consequently, this narration certainly sanctifies this material world. Uh, Wherever we discuss this Puranjan pastime, not only we are blessed, even the place, the surrounding atmosphere, the world is blessed. It purifies the heart of the living entity and helps him attain his spiritual identity. One who relates this transcendental narration will be liberated from all material bondage and will no longer have to wander within this material world. Hmm. And then finally, then the allegory of King Puranjan described herein, according to the authority, was heard by me from my spiritual master, and it is full of spiritual knowledge. If one can understand the purpose of this allegory, he will certainly be relieved from the bodily conception and will clearly understand life after death. Although one may not understand what transmigration of the soul actually is, one can fully understand it by studying this narration. Huh? So here the word it used is striya, hmm, meaning along with the wife is significant. The male and female living together constitute the sum and substance of material existence. The attraction between male and female in this material world is very strong. In all species of life, the attraction between male and female is the basis of the principle of existence. The same principle of intermingling is also in society, but is in a regulative way. Anyway, this is, however, when one fully understands the spiritual life, his attraction for opposite sex is completely vanquished. So, by such attraction, one becomes overly attached to this material world. It is a hard knot within the heart. So, here it says, mm, thus one becomes entangled with the bodily conception of I and my. However, if one understands the story of King Puranjana and understands how by sexual attraction Puranjana became a female in his next life, one will be also understand the process of transmigration. So there ends this particular verse, 85. And then there is Satish Prabhu, you were reading about 29, 1a, 2a. Yeah. So there is this special note. According to Vijayadwaja Tirtha, who belongs to Madhvacharya Sampradaya, the first two of the following verses, which is 29, 1a, 2a, uh, appear after the verse 45 of this chapter, and the remaining two verses, which is 29, 2b, uh, uh, 1b and 2b, I think. Yeah. 1a, 2a, and 1b, 2b. These are uh, these are present in this chapter as per Vijayadvaja Tirtha. So they also help us to understand this whole pastime that Puranjan is, Narad Muni explaining to Prachin Barhi about the nature of the dream and uh, dream world and etc. Yeah, if one may have time, they can read. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. Any thoughts, questions? All clear? Everyone is excited for the festival. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this session. I think the importance of thoughts and how it manifests was very clear, and it comes from Narada Muni, who is like one of the most qualified Vaishnavas. So, a lot of learning, Prabhuji, on this. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yep, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Thank you
Hare Krishna.
for this wonderful session. So, Prabhuji, so we just read that Narad Muni lives on Siddhiloka planet, so which
Mm-hmm.
is real creation.
You okay?
So I had this mind that I mean, he's always traveling, and he might stay maybe in spiritual world because there is
Mm.
only one Narada for all the. I mean, he goes everywhere. But Siddhiloka is in every material creation, no, Prabhuji?
Okay.
Like there are many planets, and every universe has this Siddhiloka.
Yeah. So your question is, I mean, at least we are talking about this material world and where Narada Muni is there. Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
And yeah, and when we are saying of Siddhaloka, I think because of the curse that he, there is still something you have your own home, though you may not be, or you may be heavily traveling, right?
Hmm. So we can say Siddhiloka for this universe, and for
Yeah.
other
Mm.
universes also, like
No,
so
no.
he.
Every universe has its own, but I don't know. In every universe, is Narada playing the same? I don't know.
Hmm. Yes, mhm. Okay, Babu. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Hare
Gaur
Krishna,
Bhagwan
Prabhuji.
Rao.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for wonderful chapter ending. Yeah. Prabhuji, about the mind. Mind is kind of some autonomous thing that goes on automatically, and if we don't interfere in the business, then it will take us on unknown or bad thing, or I mean it has some intelligence, or like, yeah,
No.
if we have to
The,
interfere.
um, the intelligence is more of this willingness. So it's as this nature, which are the three things. Yeah. In Patanjali Yoga Sutra, there is an explanation about the mind. It has this accepting, rejecting, which is like it also relate to feeling, willing, and all these things. But it is the intelligence which is has to show the right path. Just like if you have a hard disk with all the impressions and etc. Yeah, very nicely ordered, etc. But it is that when you want to see something, it is that intelligence which you are using to get it out, right? So the intelligence is superior to the mind, and yeah, and the intelligence is also as per whole this Puranjan pastime. We saw that the material intelligence is Puranjani. Hmm? So yeah, we also came across in multiple occasions in the same whole narration, where the role of mind is still subordinate to intelligence. So there is intelligence through which the mind is directed. Yeah, and if it is wrong, like then he becomes more slave of it, uh, and he goes and when the same mind becomes, we saw that she's also as a considered bhakti devi, right? So who was also like detached from, then one is taking shelter of that kind of mind. So the intelligence is, whether covered intelligence or pure intelligence, is the one that is still affecting all the senses, 16 senses. Hmm?
But Prabhuji, to do the business, like if one is not aware of spiritual identity, then the mind will guide the body.
No, the
It
intelligence
has
will
to
guide them.
still the soul, or
No, the intelligence is guiding the mind, whether materialistically or spiritually.
hmm. But then intelligence is something like autonomous or self-programmed kind of thing, that if one is not aware of spiritual identity, then intelligence is
No,
guiding the
again,
body, or
intelligence is
soul is
again
guiding.
intelligence is again yeah, subordinate to self, yeah, identity. No, which means that when intelligence is covered, we are saying already it's not autonomous, right? There is still another influence false ego.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, when we have the true identity, when we see ourselves, then that is also, yeah, it's fully qualitatively having the qualities of the Supreme Lord, but quantity is wise, small. So that makes it again that we are part and parcel of the Lord. So we can't simply say autonomously. Yeah. Again, I think we opened this today's session, verse number 61, where we see that where we see that, one second, what I wanted to say. um yeah, we are working on the direction of the Supreme Lord. It's not that okay, we just thought we should do it. No, it has to be granted. Hmm.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know if your autonomousity, I don't know if that is the word, is can be spoken of the Supreme Lord who is fully independent. Yeah. And the soul is, yeah, independent within this um, conditioning. Yeah.
Yes, sir. But Prabhuji, at night there is, yeah, the even if the intelligence is good or bad, still, if you mean the if one has good intelligence, then they will not see the dreams, impressions, or.
No. He will see good dreams, good impressions.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's not so some as long as there are these dreams, yeah, just like the example also we came across somewhere where when the churning of the ocean happens, then we see bubbles on the surface of the water. Huh? Which means when there is nothing, then there can't be any bubbles, right? For example, if the water is very pure, um, or like the example we can take is like if you put some detergent into water and then if you just churn it, right, or then you start seeing the soap bubbles on the surface. Yeah. But if there is no soap inside the water, there is no soap bubbles also. Yeah. When we come to that pure state, then there is no problem. But we are always having some good. Yeah, when we talk about detergent, which is pure, purifying, that comes also into in that. And then there is also dirt, right? So if you see, I don't know if you have seen, there is also bubbles floating on um what do you call muddy water. I don't know if you have seen. And those are the places where they actually, at least science when I studied, where the eggs of these mosquitoes uh, live. Mm. So anyway, I mean the example, I don't know, I just made it up now, but the point is that when there is something inside in the hard drive, whatever we have, hard disk, there is always something coming out because of this churning. When we go to Sushupti is a deep sleep. Yeah. In the Sushupti stage, one is coming to that level of absorption in transcendence that he is above the dream stage. Yeah, you can maybe look it up about the Sushupti verse and maybe you can read in this chapter. Yeah, there is a state of no dream. Yeah, no dream state that comes when one is purified, when one becomes transcendental, when he is transcendental to the material conditioning, that dreams that he are getting, he is not getting any more dreams. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so they at that time the waves in the mind are very,
Sure.
very
They
gentle.
are they are churning, right? They are this which are creating. What is that thought that can be brought up? Yeah. And in one of the purports, Prabhupada is mentioning these sometimes are coming big because of intense interest to think about them. Yeah, the example that I gave about chess, right? So of course, sequentially, if all the photos would come, yeah, obviously we had so many lifetimes of so many things that are stored. But why are we thinking about chess that fresh that happened tonight? I mean, in the evening that we played. Now, there's also something that is also pushing us. What is the most exciting thing that we want to work with?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Then I wish you a very nice, happy Dasara to everyone, you and your families. And yeah, let's see us tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you. पंचकल्पद्रव्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। धन्यवाद। श्रीमद्भागवतम की जय। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna, Babaji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.